But while the media is distracted by these anti-Trump and anti-American riots, the biggest enemies of the West are flexing their muscles again. Japan's now warning that China has sent 2 of its aircraft carriers into the Pacific for the first time, including in Japan's economic waters. Practicing for what, you may ask? And the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, says China's ally Russia is also a threat.
Produces in 3 months what the whole of NATO produces in a year. And its defence industrial base is expected to roll out 1,500 tanks, 3,000 armoured vehicles and 200 Iskander missiles this year alone. Russia could be ready to use military force against NATO within 5 years. 5 years. Let's not kid ourselves. We are all on the eastern flank now. The new generation of Russian missiles travel at many times the speed of sound. The distance between European capitals is only a matter of minutes. There is no longer east or west.
Joining me is Michael Shoebridge, a former senior defence official, now founder and director of Strategic Analysis Australia. Michael, it's always great to see you. Let's take them in order. China sending 2 aircraft carriers to train near Japanese waters for the first time. What does that mean?
Well, Andrew, China has built a big navy, a big powerful navy, because it wants to use that powerful navy. So what it wants to do is isolate Taiwan, and these aircraft carriers being in the Western Pacific help it do that. And it wants to intimidate Japan, South Korea and Southeast Asia. So it's about an aggressive, coercive China building the military muscle and now showing that's what it's got.
And do you think it's actually meant as a threat? The fact that it was just outside or actually in Japan's economic waters, one of those aircraft carriers, is that just, well, that's one of the things that happen when you're exercising, or is that quite pointed?
This is quite pointed. It's a bigger version of that Chinese Navy task force that circumnavigated Australia back in March. It's deliberately intimidating and threatening. And the Japanese know it. That's why they've doubled defence spending, breaking with their post-World War II limit, and they're increasing their military power, particularly in their navy, very quickly. The Japanese are being open with their people and urgent with increasing their military power in a way our government simply isn't.
Now, to that warning by Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, that's European and North American Treaty Organisation, is that just saber rattling, saying, look, Russia is arming itself at 4 times the rate that Europe is, even though Europe's economy is 20 times bigger, and it could shoot rockets and missiles into any European city? Is that just saber rattling, do you think, or is there a real danger?
I think the NATO chief is being very credible and accurate with what he's saying. The largest military and most effective military in Europe to face the Russians is Ukraine's military. And I think the NATO chief is making the point that if the rest of NATO doesn't really support Ukraine, then Europe is militarily weak at the moment. And he's saying if Russia beats Ukraine, it then looks very threatening to the rest of Europe. And of course, he also said Russia is enabled in this war in Europe by its partnership with China. So we've got a kind of shared security problem in our region with China and in Europe with Russia because of their partnership.
Yes, I think warning that missiles could rain on London and Paris is probably over the top. I think it'll be little salami slices. It won't be that, but we shall see. I mean, we've been proven wrong. The people who say she'll be right have been proven wrong before in 1939. So we shall see. Can I just quickly ask you, looking at the American riots, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking it's a pretty ugly set of scenes in LA. And the two levels of government are not working well together, the state and federal government. And I'm also thinking, what a contrast between the January 6th riots, where the people that were in prison have been released and pardoned, but you can bet your house on the Trump administration wanting to prosecute and jail the rioters in LA. So I think it looks messy and divided, and it's obviously political, but no one wants to see that level of violence on their streets.
Yes, it keeps happening under Donald Trump, not because of him, but because of his enemies. You remember, of course, the Black Lives Matter riots. Michael Shoebridge, thank you so much for your time.